Nicks and bruises, we are back. Shout out to the chat. Yo, Black is time. I got the Queen with me. Queen, how you been? What's going on? I
I'm good.
I
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
appreciate. No, I was gonna say I appreciate you. Calling and checking in on me, making sure I was all right. I did a show yesterday. Shuttle tried to talk me off the ledge. I ended up right back on the ledge after at the end of the night. So
Listen,
I needed that call. So I
yeah,
appreciate it.
I thought about you yesterday as well. And when I saw you was going live, I saw it a little late, and I'm like, damn, I'm about to go live too. But I definitely missed chatting with you, and I thought about you as soon as the trade went down. I thought about you, and I thought about Tsunami, who's a big RJ fan actually.
Oh man. Um, but yeah, we had a nice long talk, you know what I mean, a couple minutes ago. And I'm
Yeah.
like, you know what, let's just do a quick
Let's
show.
not waste it. Let's share it with the people.
And basically, I mean, we've come to the conclusion that, you know, this has to be a prerequisite for the next deal or
Yes.
the next move. And we started to speculate and figure out, try to figure out, what might be the next move.
Mhm.
um Couple options. I think the biggest discussion we talked about Mikal Bridges and said, hey, I never believed it was possible, but you made a great point, and make an offer and make an offer that you can't really turn down, right? And
You
I'm with
talk
that.
Yeah, I was telling you that there's a lot of businesses that don't have they're not thinking about selling their business. Well, they just it didn't run across their mind, or maybe they did and they decided against it. But then somebody walks in with an offer they can't refuse, and people like, yo, what happened? I got an offer I can't refuse. And there's no shame in the Knicks to start knocking on doors and calling up these front offices saying I'm really interested in this player, and I know you may not be thinking about trading him, but we're interested and we're willing to more than meet your price.
And it's gonna be it would be a steep price. On a realistic scale, do you think the Knicks could pull that off? Do you think I think they have the assets. I do. I mean, even if we talked about, I mean, it could potentially cost 4 first round picks, which
Mhm.
which is the most that they could give up. And then it could also cost some swaps. But we looked at his salary, and he's not on a high salary, so the monetary value won't be as much. It won't be a hard hit. What do you think it would take to pull it off, and do you think the Knicks could do it?
I think the Knicks could do it. Um, Mikal Bridges may be one of those players where the Nets are not willing to trade him no matter what. They may consider him untouchable. There was some rumors that Portland was offering Simons and a number 3 pick for Bridges,
Mhm.
if I'm not mistaken, and they said no. And I thought that was, because Scoot, he may be struggling now, but before the draft, he was considered, a really, really, good prospect. But for the Knicks, I think the most you could offer, if I'm not mistaken, besides players in terms of draft compensation, is 4 first-round picks and 4 pick swaps, right? If I'm not mistaken, that's a lot. That's a lot. Um, but listen, if that's what it takes, this is the question I have for you, Tone. Before I answer it, do you think Mikal Bridges and OG makes us championship contenders? Because if the answer is yes, put your chips to the middle of the table and make it happen.
I mean, I'll tell you this: that matchup against Boston, you know what I mean, where you got a McCall that could guard Brown, you got a OG you could put on Tatum, and Randall don't got to deal with neither one of those two guys. You know what I mean? Um, and Brunson, you know what I mean? I mean Brunson still got to deal with Drew in the backcourt, but you know what I mean? Hey, I think it does it moves the needle a lot. You know what I mean? It puts us at a clear fourth best team in the East. Clear.
Yeah, but I want that move that's going to put us clear.
I mean, I
This is
thought
my
real quick.
Mhm.
I thought we matched up well with Boston before, even though we
Right.
have it. You know what I mean? They
Mhm.
kicked our butts. You know what I
Right.
mean? This makes it even better. Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? I don't even think it's a argument as far as the matchup. So Boston in particular, I think we match up well with the Bucks as well. I think the only question mark would be against Philly with Embiid playing the way he plays. I don't think OG, even though historically he's played against Joel, played
Mhm.
one-on-one, you know what I mean? Like he's
Mhm.
guarded him and done a decent job in moments, but you know what I mean? I don't think neither one of those guys are fit to stop Joel. But to match up against the Bucks and Boston, absolutely.
This is my only concern, and I'm not mad at it. This is my only concern. We match up defensively, no doubt about it. Do we got that guy we can put the ball in their hand and say, "Get me a bucket"? Is Mikal that guy right now? Now, I've watched some net games and I've been really intrigued by his off the dribble game. So he has it. Is it at that championship contention level where you could just throw it to him and be like, we need a bucket? Because on that team we're talking about right now, the only guy we sure we can do that with is Brunson. So that's my only thing. But other than that, you got Mikal defensively, you got Mikal Bridges on one wing, you got OG on another wing, you got a healthy Mitchell Robinson at 5. I'm loving that, but that's my concern. In this NBA, if you wanna win a championship, you gotta be able to score, and you gotta in those tough moments, you gotta be able to be like,
So let me
"Yeah."
let me just clarify your question. Are you
Mhm,
asking me is he a number or let me just preface by this. I say he's a clear number 3. Clear
okay.
number 3. You know what I mean? Like and honestly, I would go with the motto of um Randall, get yours in the first 3 quarter. He might move to number 2 when it comes down to fourth quarter. Macau, you know what I mean? But behind
Yeah,
Brunson.
yeah.
So
He
I
he
would say
has
that.
the he has that, he has that skill. But there's a difference between, in my opinion, having this skill and then doing it when the lights are bright, and that's the only thing I don't know about him. That's it. That's it.
I
But
mean
in terms of
that's
his
fair.
game, his
Now
he can get a basket.
at the price, it may be worth the chance. Now, when I say price, I'm talking about my what he makes per year. You know
I
what I
was
mean?
about
As a
to say,
price.
okay,
I'm not,
okay.
you know what I mean?
I'm not talking about 8 draft or
Yeah,
4
we're not
draft
talking
picks
about
and 4
the
swap.
draft. I'm saying but for that price, it's like he's gonna outplay that contract
No
regardless.
doubt about it.
You know what I mean? Like, so it's really about the are we giving up that draft compensation for him? I would do it. He would definitely be top. He might be number 1 on my list if we could do it as far as risk versus reward.
Right. Right. Number one, oh boy. Oh man. Um, Number 1 on my list of like Knicks knocking on the door and
Offer
seeing
you can't
who
refuse.
give an offer they can't refuse. Okay, let's just put all the pieces on the table we were talking about. We were talking about Bridges, we were talking about Murray, we were talking about Ingram and Levine. In the chat, if you guys
I'll throw Kuzma in there as
and you're gonna
well.
throw Kuzma in there. And chat, if you wanna put some players. So basically, what we're saying is the Knicks need 2 players. We got OG. Who is that next player that we can put on the wing? And if that player is not available, the Knicks have enough assets to just go knocking on the door and like, look,
How can you turn this down?
how right, we're gonna give you an offer you can't refuse. I think Mikal would be on my list, but on the top of the list would be Levine or Ingram. And Levine has the like you pointed out in our conversation tone, Levine has that injury concern, and then he's also probably making the most money out of all of the guys on the list, if I'm not mistaken.
Hmm.
Ingram also has an injury. He's missed some games as well. But the only reason I'm putting those guys a little ahead of Mikal is because I think they can get us a bucket. And you need that type of guy on a championship contending team. Um, and I think we would need more than Brunson. So that's the only reason why I would put them a little ahead. And that's only because Mikal hasn't done it yet. Because he has that game. He has
Well,
that game.
can I ask you this though?
Yeah.
And this is if because this is why I say risk versus reward. You know what I mean? When you talk about the monetary price
Mhm.
that it costs, you talk about injury concerns, which Macau has the opposite. Like he literally just got forced to do some load management. He ain't missed the game because
No
he
doubt.
had,
No
you
doubt.
know what I mean?
No
But
doubt.
I think he played like 14 minutes on a load management, which he wasn't okay with. So I mean, like that's part of my equation in putting him first,
Yeah.
knowing that he's
No
gonna
doubt.
be there night in and night out. You know what I mean? But so I mean, I agree. Levine fits out of Levine and Ingram. Who would you prefer? Let me ask you that. Let's start there. Who would you put one, and who would you put two?
I'm gonna put Ingram one because he makes less, and I've seen him in the playoffs at least two years. I've seen him in the playoffs, and I've seen him perform in playoff games. So that's why I would. And then, well, Levine can handle the ball as well. Levine can handle the ball as well, but Bi can definitely handle the ball and initiate our offense.
And he's
Uh,
probably the better of the defender, right?
He's
Or
long.
or, or at least has has the right.
He's long. I don't know how much of a defender he is, but I think the question is, I think Levine has the physical tools to be a defender, though. No,
I mean, yeah, but they've been saying that his whole career. You know, like
I think environments matter. It's possible he becomes a better defensive player with the Knicks. I think he has the tools to be. Um, but yeah, I would say Bi. Um, yeah.
DSJ ain't playing. He going all in. He said Anthony Edwards.
Listen, if
I
they
mean,
wasn't in first place,
yeah. I mean, yeah. They not even answering the phone. Like they pulled the cord out the line.
yeah, the proverbial call. CC makes a good point. For Levine, do we have to match the 40 mil? Like, because at this point, remember, RJ is not here now. So if is he making 40 mil?
I think so.
Yeah,
Or,
it
or
may be
some-
hard to match that.
um, I mean, we got two trade exceptions and Fournier. That's 31. So we got to come
Okay.
up with like another 6 to 7 mil. I mean, yeah. Unfortunately, I think the next highest contract is Hartenstein, and he's too important. And
Hartenstein.
then
Yeah, Hartenstein.
uh, Josh Hart can't be moved to a certain date, and I don't think he's on the table. So it really, we may not even have the money. I think we might have had to have used quickly in that sense.
And then I don't know, maybe somebody in the chat knows. Can you put trade exceptions together?
Yeah, I'm not sure either. I I,
Yeah.
I, I asked that the other day. I'm not sure. Um, I got another. I mean, we spoke about it. I don't know if we mentioned it on the list, but that combination of DeRozan and Caruso.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I
And
mean,
DeRozan could be on the list that we just talked about, but you don't even have to knock down the door for DeRozan. I believe we wouldn't have to give up as much as we was talking about.
hmm and I mean, again, I like risk versus reward. You know what I mean? Like it's a big part of my strategy when I kind of go through these, and I feel like, I mean, number one, Caruso would fit like a glove. Tibbs guy, um, could run that second unit. s- Don't lose a beat defensively. Um,
Fill
shoot,
in if Brunson misses a game.
yeah, fill in. Yep, shoot the ball. Queen, I was unaware. You looked up his height.
He's 6'5".
6'5".
I was surprised at that as well. Yeah, he's 6'5". You know, I wasn't big on I was always big on DeRozan's game, even when we signed Fournier that year. And people were talking about he wasn't, he wasn't a fit. I was like, I don't know, we gotta bring him and just see if it could work out. But now that, you know, you have OG who's a better, 3-point shooter at that other wing, and we're not that young anymore. We moved Obi, we moved Quick, we moved RJ, because that was my concern.
Mhm.
You're gonna give up your young players for a player who has 2 or 3 years left, but those players are gone now. So now you would be giving up Grime, and I guess the same thing applies, but I don't really see Grimes as a high upside player, and I could definitely be wrong. And draft capital, I think the Knicks are a little older, a little closer with DeRozan. I wouldn't be mad with that, Tony. I would not be mad if I woke up tomorrow, or if I heard later on today that the Knicks traded for DeRozan and Caruso.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I-
I think now. I think we could compete with that team. You know what I mean? I still, wish Mitch would be healthy and be a part of that. Um, so that might be the only hole at that point. But and maybe I'm wrong, but I always get a lot of pushback on DeRozan saying he's not a good defender. Um, I don't know when that transpired, and if that's true, I would like to hear your take on that. But let me
I'm not. Oh, go ahead.
Bobby Santiago, appreciate the super
Hey,
chat. Um, he says, with all the draft assets we still have, what trade would make the most sense and would take us to the next level? I mean, that's kind of what
that's
we that's what the
yeah,
show's about. So, I mean,
yeah,
tune in. We talked about Mikal Bridges, and we're gonna cover a couple other people. So yeah, tune in and
yeah.
we,
Keep watching. We got you covered, Bobby
keep,
Santiago. We got you covered. And we didn't even touch on Murray, who has actually been in the news, reported to be a potential trade target for the Knicks. I'm not sure about DeRozan's defense at this point in his career. But this is what I will say. Just because a player hasn't played defense where they are, doesn't mean when they get here they won't play defense. I think there's a difference between a player who has the tools and a player who doesn't. Brunson, Fournier plays hard. They don't have the tools, the lateral quickness. DeMar, I can see him digging down a little bit. And we also have to keep in mind, DeMar is not going to be carrying the offensive load that he carried in Chicago, because that makes a difference. When you're carrying that type of offensive load, you can't be a lockdown defender on every possession. That's just asking too much. So I think he'll be fine, Tone, to answer your to answer your question. And another thing I like about him, you could put the ball in his hand and he can get a bucket. And you're gonna need that in the playoffs.
Mhm. And I have no problem with his mid range. And people like to point out and say he's not a good 3-point shooter. On the contrary, he just doesn't take a lot of threes. He's more than capable 3-point shooter and is actually shooting at a good percentage currently. So
Yes.
um yeah, that was a
I'm
little
okay with DeMar.
low scale. I mean, you mentioned Murray. Let's jump right into
I want to say
Murray.
this to Stafford. Stafford, I know you don't like DeMar overall, or you don't like him because of his fit when RJ Barrett was here, or you don't even like him with this team. which is changing now. So I'm just curious. But go ahead. We was talking about Murray.
I mean, he's another one. I think as far as risk versus reward, I really I think I preference him over some of the maybe a Levine, considering the injury concern, considering the actual monetary price.
Hmm.
Um, I probably I don't think I would put him over Ingram. I think I would take the risk with Ingram just because he got mid range, he got the three ball, he could get to the like he's 3 level scorer. Not saying Levine isn't, but he also got the length, um 6'10" that we desperately need. But Murray, I think he fits like a glove as well. I was actually on record when we were discussing Donovan Mitchell 2 years ago
Hmm.
and saying I would have preferred Murray at that time,
You did. You
thinking
did.
thinking he would be a better fit next to Brunson. Um, Defensive guy, can play the one or the two. Could spell the second unit at the one or the two. Um, I just think he fits like a glove. Um, and that's really from me watching him in on the Spurs. I haven't really watched him since he's been in Atlanta. I don't know whether he's been good or not, to be honest. But I know his game, and I know it fits like a glove next to Brunson. Um,
I think since San Antonio, there's been some improvements
mm,
in his 3-point shooting. So he's a better 3-point shooter than he was in San Antonio. He's taking about 6 a game, and he's taking about half of them off the catch and about half of them off the dribble. So that's been a nice addition to his game. He's not the defender he was in San Antonio with Atlanta, but I don't think that means that he can't return. I don't think he's lost a step. So I think coming if he was to get traded to the Knicks with this team culture, this environment, um, the demand for defense, I think he would fit right back in with what you saw in San Antonio. And I agree with you. He he could play. He would allow Brunson to play more off the ball. And I think, there's been some who said, well, it didn't work in Atlanta. How can it work here? I'm not sure how much experience Trey Young has playing off the ball since he's been in the NBA. But Brunson has experience playing off the ball with Luca. You know what I mean? So I don't think it's going to be a that big a deal with um, Brunson playing off the ball. And Brunson is a very good 3-point shooter that we can't really take advantage of because he always has the ball in his hands, And I think Murray would allow us to exploit that a little.
Somebody to find him.
Mhm. Mhm.
I mean, that's a great point.
Yeah.
Great point. Um, I would put actually just because when there's smoke, there's fire. I would actually put him number 2 on my list behind Macau, just because it seems like there's something there. Even going to the supposed Rich Paul Leon sit
Right.
down
Right.
and clearing the air.
Right.
You mentioned the Lakers' interest, but the Lakers have also been rumored to be interested in Levine. So
Mhm.
my thoughts is if that sit down is real, it's because number one, there is legit interest from the players,
Right.
which there's been rumors about Murray wanting to be a Knick before he even went to Atlanta.
Right.
So I mean, yeah, I'll say because when there's smoke, there's fire. I'll put him number 2, because I think it's becoming more and more realistic.
Do you think okay, go ahead.
Shout out to Paris Duggar. Appreciate the super chat. He says,
Salute, Paris.
as it stands, OG isn't worth IQ. Just watch some OG games. He's talented, low motor player. I'm worried now if we get another guy. Now, if another guy comes in, okay. I mean, that's kind of my stance. Like as a standalone trade, I'm not happy. um, to me, this means the time is now. We have to make that next move. Um, it can't be. We can't be waiting for the next move come next off season or come this off season. It's got to be this season. Figure something out, and I'm hoping they had they ducks in a row. They knew what they were doing before the first domino. They knew this the next one was going, and the next one. But yeah, as a standalone trade, I'm not happy.
My comment on it is they were going to lose quickly for nothing. They weren't. They had already made up their mind. They weren't going to re-sign Emmanuel quickly, and so if you're not going to re-sign him, now if you want to say, I hear what you're saying, Paris. We could have matched IQ, but what I'm trying to say is the front office has made up their mind that they weren't going to re-sign IQ. They weren't going to match. They made that decision. To me, the handwriting was on the wall. There's a few things the Knicks did along the way that let us know that they weren't going to re-sign quickly. So now it just becomes who you're going to get for him then. So if you want to say you would have wanted somebody better than IQ. I get that. I get that. But the Knicks weren't going to re-sign IQ. Not that they couldn't re-sign IQ. They made up their mind that they weren't going to re-sign IQ. And we need a 3-and-D guy.
And theoretically, what did I ask you? I said, do you think RJ was the throw-in in the trade? Or I'm sorry, IQ was the throw-in in the trade. What was your response?
You said um they no, that almost like IQ was the thrower. You was like they wasn't gonna do that trade with IQ without IQ. Yes, because IQ was the trade.
And
They
that was
weren't
your, and
trading
that
for Barrett. IQ was the trade. That's who they wanted. They've been talking about IQ for over a year. I've heard reports of them liking IQ for over a year. And I think Barrett was the throw-in to make the salary work. And they may even I'm hearing that they may even flip Barrett for somebody else. I've heard that. You know? And you're gonna need Barrett's money to pay OG.
and that's a fair comment.
Mhm.
I agree. Um, I didn't voice it at the time, but I agree. In
Yeah,
hindsight, I agree.
right. You could say that, but they didn't see IQ. They did that. And you could disagree with the Knicks. I'm not saying I agree with the Knicks, but the Knicks didn't see, like CC said, they didn't see IQ as a starter, and they had ample opportunity to create a Manu Ginobili role for quickly off the bench, and they chose not to do that.
uh, do you think he's just a glue guy?
No,
OG?
no, I don't think he's a star though. I don't think he's a star though. But I think that you're going to be, for those who don't like OG or think they don't like him, take about 4 games. You're gonna watch him for like 4 games, and you're gonna understand what he does for our team.
Who else we had on that list?
Well, we was
Um,
talking about Murray, and then you
Murray.
asked me a question, and I was about to answer it before. Don't worry about points. Everybody's worrying about points per game. He's not a star. And points per game also depends on who you're on the team with. So he's on the team with Siakam. He's on the team with Scotty Barnes. He's on this team with Grant. He's on the team with Schroeder. It's not a lot of shots to go around. And who was RJ Barrett if not a glue guy? RJ
Mm.
Barrett was a glue guy role player as well. He wasn't a star.
And IQ, at least for his role, you know what I
He
mean? He
was a
was.
role player too, with a now. Don't get me wrong. Now, with a higher ceiling than RJ Barrett, in my opinion. But at this point in his career, Quickly was a role player as well with upside. With upside. You know, you're not getting a superstar. Knicks are nice. Come on now, let's relax. You're not getting a superstar for quickly. He wasn't there yet. You know, you're
I,
not getting a
well,
superstar for quick.
and that was my only that would have been my only pushback as far as having his bird rights and restricted free agency, um having the opportunity to negotiate with with his bird rights as a sign and trade target. So now his salary is worth his game, his play. You know what I mean? Like, because obviously he's
Had
outplaying.
they re-signed him,
Yeah,
then they could,
or
yes.
or 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 sign and trade him. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because at that point,
I don't think you can sign and trade in restricted free agency anymore.
oh really?
I don't think so. Somebody correct me on that, you know. But
Oh wow.
yeah, somebody correct me on that. I don't think you can sign and trade under this new collective bargaining um agreement.
Because I thought, is that why the Aiden thing didn't happen? Or I thought they,
Aiden was
'cause
under the new one though.
Aiden, they matched him, and yeah, Aiden they matched, and you know what I mean, they forced him back to the Suns.
Mhm.
But I thought they did that because they weren't interested in assets from them.
Oh, I think
But
that
but you, I mean, if you're right, then that makes even more sense. Why the match? It's either match or losing for nothing. I thought it was match.
I think you I think maybe you can. I thought under the new collective bargaining agreement you can, because this article I'm looking at, oh, this was 223 free agency.
Mm,
You got to look at
okay,
2024.
and let me get this super chat. Appreciate you, Parrish, again. He says, saw Obi stand up to RJ to Julius Randle last night. I
I
miss him
did.
and IQ. I'm gonna miss IQ. I don't know if I necessarily, you know what I mean, miss Obi too much. Um I think he had to stand up to Randall, had his
Right,
parents in the building.
right,
You know what I mean? Can't be getting punked. Um
right.
but you know, they won the battle. They were celebrating all over the court. I peeped that. Not just Obi, but the whole
Mhm,
Indiana team. So grudge match whenever we face them again for sure.
mhm. Yeah, no doubt about it. But you was asking me a question. Um, um, I know. Salute, Ron. He was asking me a question about Murray before the super chat. Anyway,
Um
but the only thing I'll say about Murray, and I love him. I've always loved Murray. He's always been one of my. For the way I talk about Brunson, it was Brunson, Murray, and Bi. Like those are my guys. And the thing, what I like about Murray is he just gets it done through across the stat sheet,
mhm.
rebounds, assists, steals, defense. Now he adding a 3-point shot. My only question with Murray is he's that dude you can go to down the stretch. And then if not, that just puts a lot of pressure on Brunson.
That's that's a
That's my only concern. That's all.
that's a great question because honestly, um to me he's very similar to SGA. The difference is I know SGA is that guy down the stretch.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Murray could probably, he's probably more of, I know he's that guy throughout the game. Like he could do all these things, 3 level scorer and everything else. Um, but down the stretch, I that is a unproven, you know what I mean? Unproven theory. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's not because he's tried and failed. It's because he hasn't been in these meaningful moments that, you know what I mean, meaningful games throughout his career. So that's the, I guess that's a fair question mark
Right.
with him.
Yeah.
Um mm.
Yeah.
And I guess that's why I will put Macau above him as
But
far
I
as
think it's the same thing with Macau too. Macau has the game to get a bucket, because I've seen him, he's scoring a lot off the dribble, but can he do it under the bright lights? It remains to be seen. But he has the game to do it.
Yeah, but as a shooter, you know what I mean. I would trust the shooter in that
Right.
situation
Yeah. Yeah.
more. You know what I mean. And Murray is probably a better creator in that situation, but it's tougher to create than it is to just shoot. You know what I mean? Get a little space
Yeah.
and shoot. So
Yeah.
um
But you got to be able to create to get to get that space though. Unless somebody is created, unless somebody is like, unless you catch and shoot.
shoot, yeah. Who else you anybody else you want to touch on?
We talked about Bi, we talked about Murray, we talked about Demar. We
Ingram. I mean not Ingram, Kuzma. What's your thoughts on Kuz?
that's this is the wow.
And Clarkston. Let's do them both.
Okay,
I
I
think
like Kuzma more
both
than
of
Clarkson.
both of them have Randall ties, right? Maybe Randall needs a guy, one of his guys. Oh, yeah, but let's start with
Um,
Kuz.
I like Kuzma. I think his game has developed. I mean, you can argue that he's putting up these stats in Washington. Would he be able to do it when when it really counts? Um, but I like, and then can he defend? He wouldn't be top of the list. He wouldn't be top of the list, but I do like him. And one of the things I've noticed about him this year is that his assists are up. Like in terms of like finding people and creating. So the thing about it is I don't know if Kuzma and OG makes us championship contenders. I don't know if Murray and OG makes us championship contenders. I'm not I'm not sure.
I mean, who would be your sure bet?
I know. I know.
You
I
know,
know. Who would I bet on?
you
Who
know,
would I
like,
bet on?
like,
Um, that's a great question.
because honestly, the messed up part is this: the proven guys,
Mhm.
they not going nowhere. They proven. You know what I mean? They only going somewhere if they force their way to where they want to go. The
Right.
proven guys. You know what I mean? So a lot of times you gotta project
Right.
and look at what guys have done under their circumstances, in their situations. You know what I
Right.
mean? And hope it translates when when
Right.
everything is on the line.
Right.
You,
Right.
you-
Yeah, you're
you know
right.
what I
You're
mean?
right.
Like,
You're right.
I
And I
mean,
could be underrating Murray too. Somebody in the chat was like, because I was like, we need a stable defender and we need a dynamic player. And I was like, I don't know if Murray's that dynamic player. Somebody in the chat said, well, he sure was the dynamic against us.
um, I mean, and then he's playing alongside Young, who
Right.
is somewhat of a dynamic player in a sense. You know what I mean? Like he's not an above the
Mhm.
rim guy, but he's a dynamic guy. I don't know if I think Brunson is more low maintenance. Like so, the fit may even be better next to Brunson than it is with a Trey Young. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, and Kuz, I'm not like he's lower on the list. I put
Yeah.
him in the top 10. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Top 10.
Yeah. And maybe somebody comes out of the blue that we not even thinking about. But
What's your thoughts on Vassell?
mm, I like Vassell too. I don't think he that dude yet. He's young too. Have to still come into, you know, come into his own, you
He has
know.
the size, right? He's got to be like 6'6", right?
He's 6'6".
That length. Um, I'm just trying to think of guys that. I mean, it's a lot. Like sometimes I don't know if we're gonna get the surefire guy, or everybody's gonna come with some type of question mark, whether it's injury history, whether it's duration of being in their peak. You know what I mean? Because who's on our team? Do you think? I think Randall might be the only guy in his prime.
Yeah, just in it.
Just entering his prime. So it's gonna be hard pressed to find a guy already in his prime. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
That you're gonna have to get a guy that is probably a year away from his best,
right.
but where he's at may be good enough today. You know what I mean? For what we're
Mhm.
trying to do.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm excited though. We was talking earlier because just for the Knicks to make a move, it just lets us know that they're breathing.
He's alive.
They're alive. I can put the defibrillator away.
He's breathing on his own.
You know? Uh, yeah. Yeah. So
CC
I'm excited about what's to come. And then also, I always thought that if the Knicks were to become championship contenders, they were going to have to get a little older. Not grizzly old, but they were going to need to get a little older
Yeah, you've been saying
because
that.
these young guys were 1 or 2 years away. And not in terms of regular season performance, but in terms of getting their playoff, that playoff experience you need. And listen, we traded away RJ, we traded away quickly, we traded away Obi. And basically what the Knicks are saying is we're making our move now to
And
get older and see what we can do while we got Randall and Brunson on this contract, because I think that's a factor as well
mm-hmm.
in
I mean,
terms of the expediency of it, the urgency.
and that's 100% why the time is now. Like we can't wait till the off season to figure out the next move. You know what I mean? Like even if you're taking a risk, you know what I mean? Like they got to weigh the risk versus reward. It don't have to be a home run. You know what I mean? But you got to keep improving, and you got to make up. You got to make up for you put some emphasis right now into
Mhm, mhm,
defense, right?
mhm.
And maybe fit. You know what I mean? Which another thing, Queen. You know, fit has always been my stance, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Right? Even that didn't help temper my mood. You know what I mean? Somebody's like, "But you always talking about fit." Yeah,
But I
but
think because it was a 2-for-1, I think this would be a different conversation if this was RJ for OG.
mhm,
This would be I mean, some fans would still have an issue. Um, but I think this would be a different conversation because in some fans' minds it was a 2-for-1, but a lot of it was that RJ just doesn't have the value. I don't think he has the value right now. Right now. And now he has a small body of work. So it's not like you're looking at a 2-year somebody with 2 years of experience. Like, well, maybe, just maybe, it's 5 years now. So the picture is kind of filling in terms of who RJ Barrett is. I don't think he has the value because I wanted them to headline separate trades. I
yeah,
wanted Quick and picks to go in one, and RJ and maybe somebody else and picks to go in another. But I don't think RJ has that value.
and yeah, and that you definitely gave me a perspective when you said that, because I didn't think about him not being um would you say worth a standalone trade. You know what I mean? Where he's the prize in the trade. Um and yeah, that puts things in perspective. Um it does, you saying quickly was the trade.
Quickly
Put,
was the
put,
trade. That's who
put
Toronto wanted. Toronto did not. You didn't you say you was listening to content creators in Toronto and they're so on back.
yeah, yeah.
Toronto did this was not a trade for RJ and they threw in quickly. This was a quickly trade. Toronto wanted quickly. They've been after quickly for at least a year. I've been hearing reports. If anybody was a throw-in, if you want to use that term, it was RJ Barrett.
He
IQ
was.
headlined it this trade. They needed the salary to push it through.
Yeah, yeah, yep, yeah. Um, before we get out of here, did the Knicks win the trade, or is it yet to be determined? Does the next move determine if they won the trade?
I think the Knicks won the trade only because they were not going to re-sign quickly, and I'm not sure who else they were going to be able to put in. Who else they were going to get with quickly for quickly right now? Because they have to have worked the room to see
Mm-hmm,
who was interested in quickly. So
mm-hmm,
if you were interested in Levine, I'm pretty sure they talked to Chicago about whether Chicago would be interested in quickly. If
mm-hmm.
they were interested in Murray, I'm pretty sure they talked to Atlanta about whether Atlanta would be interested in IQ. And I don't think Atlanta would be interested in IQ if they had Trey. So I do think the Knicks worked the room in terms of seeing who they could put IQ in a trade for. And either from money or fit, I think it came down to Toronto as the team that would be interested in quick. Because people want to just wait for a superstar. What superstar are you who's the superstar available that you're putting quickly in a trade for? So what that means is now you're going to sign him for the $25 million and you're just going to wait for the which is valid. I know this is what you was talking about.
It,
It's valid, you
it's,
know? Sign him and wait. Sign him for the 25 million, whatever he's asking for, and just wait for a superstar to come along.
but now they made the, like I said, the time is now. You can't wait now. You know what I mean?
Right.
You got rid of, to me, the most dynamic young guy we had. You know what I mean? So now it's time to become more dynamic as a team. I do like Precious Achua. I spent about an hour trying to find all the highlights of him throughout his career last night, and I think he definitely could help this team. Um,
You think we need to include him when we talk about whether the Knicks win or lose? Because I think even myself, I was
yeah,
like RJ
uh-huh,
and IQ for
hmm.
OG, and I didn't even consider Precious Achua, and I think a lot of Knicks fans aren't.
I was pleasantly surprised by going through his montage of videos, and I mean, I always knew he was a New York guy. I know who he was prior to the league. I never really followed him in the league, but yeah, he's athletic. He could stretch the floor. I think he could play some small ball five.
Mhm.
He's gonna be he's not gonna be out the rotation. I'll say that he's gonna be a
Right.
rotational piece, and we might be pleasantly surprised by his output just because he's been the second thought of ours. You know what I mean? It's like I could see him becoming a fan favorite. You
Right.
know what I mean? My only problem with him is he's undersized. You
At
know what I
six
mean?
eight, I
You
know.
know what I mean? That's, but but I mean, we've been rocking with that throughout. He's another guy, but you know what I mean? Even at 6'8", you could put on a Jason Tatum. You could put on a Giannis. You know what I mean? You could give him some minutes against Embiid. So he's gonna
Yeah.
help even at his lack of size.
And I
Um
believe his wingspan, somebody told me, was 7 feet. I'm not sure how true that is. I didn't check. Um, we'll see because he could play behind Randall, and some are saying that he can even play undersized center.
mhm.
He gets 2 offensive rebounds a game, somebody said, in limited minutes. Um, I, like people say, we're not going to be able to know until the next trade. We're not going to even know. We're not going to know until these guys start playing, and we see how our team, and we see how our team looks. because sometimes it's not about the stats, it's about what they do for your overall team. And when you think about OG now, who is 44% on threes from the corner, I read, and I'm not sure what's his percentage of catch and shoots. You got Randall and Brunson generating these open looks for you at the 3-point line, and you now have a guy who can knock that down. Now you have a guy who could play the Tatums and play the Brandon Ingrams and play whoever else, you want to say, and you're not going to ever stop those guys, ever. I don't care who you are, but you're talking about an all NBA defender who can make it hard for them with his length, because he has a really long wingspan as well. So the fit for our team is perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
And now even like a Josh Hart could go with a Tatum alongside a OG guarding I'm sorry, Brown and Tatum, and you know what I mean. So now Grimes and Hart don't have to guard up as much. You know what I mean? They're still able to, but now that you know what I mean, if you need now you don't got to make that decision. Or do I got to have him guard up or guard down? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like now you could
Right.
defensively our matchups are going to be a lot better.
Defensively, our matchups are going to be a lot better. And this is what I'll say about that second unit. They're going to get more touches without Quickly, and that's not in that second unit. Now it's what can they do with those touches? What can they do with them? We don't have a Quickly back there. So if we're going to improve on the bench, it's going to be because guys just give you a little bit more of what they already do, a little bit more. We don't have anybody on that second unit that's going to be able to create shots.
Yeah. Well, Quinn, I know you got another pod to jump on, so appreciate you. It's definitely, it's been a while. I still gotta make it on your show.
Yes, Andy made it. Andy made it yesterday.
I was waiting for he came on my
Jarrell said he got you, so I thought he sent you the link.
Oh nah, I didn't get it. Didn't get it. But yeah, and by the time I got it, I was already in the room with Sim.
Right.
So I'm like,
I ain't see Sim in a minute.
But I ain't gonna front as much as I miss you, it makes it even better when we get back on the screen together.
No doubt.
Like I said, I appreciate the call earlier, checking in on me. I'm doing better. I just got to root for IQ from afar. Everybody.
Yeah, I picked them up on my fantasy team. I paid $27 out of the $73 I had left. And I picked them up in my other league. He already taken in the Knicks league.
Yeah, you got
Darrell said he sent you the link. Yeah, because I was like, when he said he got you, I was like, I don't know where he sent it to.
Yeah. It's always got to be email or
text.
You know what I mean? Or text.
Yeah, if you DM'd it to him, forget it.
I'm working on it. Shout out to the chat, man. Hit that like button on the way out. Subscribe button if you haven't. Subscribe to Dope Soul Sports Talk, MBK. Definitely. Giants going live. Jarrell, diehard Giants.
Yeah.
Go over there.
I'm on my way over there right now.
Subscribe there. Let's go Knicks. And Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year, everybody. Have a safe and happy New Year.
Last part of the year for me, or at least Knicks and Bruises. Might jump on with Jarrell in a minute after I go take care of something.
All right. Appreciate you, Tone.
Appreciate you too, Quinn. We are out of here.